All right, y'all, about to start the show here in just a second, but I have some major breaking news that I want to share with you here. So we have a bunch of Supreme Court decisions that are coming in right now as we speak. Believe it or not, a bunch of them are surprisingly decent. Okay, I'm just going to warn you up front. We're not used to this from the Supreme Court. They're a bunch of judicial supremacists and extremists, and very rarely do they actually get something right. But as the old saying goes, a broken clock is right twice a day. All right, so let's start with this one. Apparently, the court rejected Trump's E. Jean Carroll case. That, of course, is the woman who accused Trump of basically raping her in a department store. It was either in the late 80s or the early 90s. And they say that now Trump has to pay E. Jean Carroll $5 million after they're declining to hear his appeal of the sexual abuse verdict. So, yes, it is official. He now has to pay E. Jean Carroll. And this, of course, is a massive L for him. He's been refusing to hold this L. In fact, he's been trying to launch a DOJ investigation into E. Jean Carroll, trying to ruin her life because she told her truth. So just incredible stuff there. I'm sure he's fuming over that. We also have the Supreme Court says that mail ballots can arrive after Election Day. Mail-in ballots can arrive after Election Day. So as long as you get it in before Election Day, if it arrives after Election Day, it is still okay. It is still a legal vote. This one is actually kind of surprising. A lot of people, myself included, thought that they would make the decision to basically rule out all these votes and basically do voter disenfranchisement, knowing that when it comes to mail-in votes, statistically speaking, Democrats are much more likely to do mail-in votes. And so this would mean that if you rule out all of those votes that arrive after Election Day, it's basically a big way to help Republicans while masking it as if you're not doing that, right? And so I was bracing for the worst on this one. Many people were bracing for the worst on this one. Turns out they ended up deciding the proper way that, the mail-in ballots that arrive after Election Day are still legitimate ballots. And one person, one vote means something, and that we want to try to lean on the side of counting as many votes as possible and not just putting our thumb on the scale and ruling a bunch out and trying to keep the voter pool small, because in those scenarios, it ends up helping Republicans. And that's what voter disenfranchisement is all about. So another shock decision, which is a positive decision. Now, hang on here, because at the end, I'm going to tell you there's actually a horrific decision among these. All right, we also have this. In a landmark 6-3 decision, the Supreme Court ruled that geofence warrants, which allow law enforcement to collect sweeping smartphone location data over a broad area, constitute an unreasonable search and violates the Fourth Amendment. So that's a big deal. This decision obviously is a massive win for privacy, for your rights, for the Constitution. And again, I have to say, I'm a little bit surprised that they made this decision. I definitely would have expected them to side with this mass surveillance and this mass data tracking, because we basically already live in hell when it comes to mass surveillance and mass data tracking. Okay, we also have the Supreme Court prevented Trump from firing the Federal Reserve Governor, Lisa Cook. Okay, huge win for Fed independence. The vote was 5-4. This is a big deal. Trump has been, of course, obsessed with lowering the interest rates. And, the Fed has been able to hold out and resist his political pressure. Jerome Powell, of course, has been leading the way on that. Now Trump, of course, took this to the Supreme Court, trying to fire the Federal Reserve Governor, Lisa Cook. And the Supreme Court said, fuck off. The Federal Reserve is independent. You cannot do that. Okay, so far, we're actually 4 for 4 on half-decent decisions. Ready for this? Now they take a massive diarrhea shit on their record from today. The Supreme Court backed Trump's firing of a Federal Trade Commission member, an FTC member. This is also a big deal. So as Kyle Griffin points out, the Supreme Court just overturned 90 years of precedent to transfer unprecedented new powers to the executive. So this is absolutely horrifying. Here's what Justice Sotomayor said in her dissent from the bench. She said, quote, "Today this court undoes centuries of political practice and concludes that all three branches of government have been acting in open defiance of the Constitution all this time. Its conclusion is wrong. In holding otherwise, the court gives the president a power unknown to even the English crown against which the founders revolted, elevating him above his once co-equal branches by transforming a duty to take care that the laws be faithfully executed into a license to act in defiance of those very laws." So This one is not good. It's giving Trump a tremendous amount of power in the short term here. However, the silver lining is that a Democratic president in the future could also use this power to get our way. All right. So I will say overall, though, net, probably the wrong decision when it comes to the legality of it, when it comes to the constitutionality of it. However, the silver lining is, basically a long road play here. But not good for the moment. Certainly not good for the moment. So there are your Supreme Court decisions that we have as of right now. It's 11:40 a.m. Eastern time. I don't know. There may be some more stuff coming down. I know there's one decision that they punted on. Let's see if I could find it here. Birthright citizenship. So they were maybe going to rule on birthright citizenship today, but they ended up punting on it. I don't know. Is that a bad sign? It might be a bad sign. Not sure. Although that's one of the ones where the constitutionality of it is so direct and so straightforward and so obvious that if they rule the wrong way, I would just be in awe. I mean, my jaw would be on the floor if they rule the wrong way on this one. I mean, this is like the most quintessentially American idea, the idea of birthright citizenship. The first time I heard that there are some countries that don't have it, I was like, wait, what? Isn't that how it works? Like if you're born somewhere, that's where that's where you're a citizen from? Like what the fuck's going on here? So we'll see. But, little nervous over that, the fact that they didn't rule on that today. But we'll keep our eye out for that as well. So you guys know the drill, man. Everybody subscribe below. And we're about to do the full show now. It'll drop later today. Love you guys, and I'll see you soon. All right, welcome to the show, y'all. Happy Monday. And I have a buck wild show for you today. So in just a second, yet again, all hell has broken loose in the Middle East as Trump has continued to bomb Iran in violation of the so-called agreement. Not only that, he's insider trading on that bitch. He's market manipulating with that bitch. It is just out of control what we're looking at here. I'll give you all the updates on that. We also have Trump's 250th U.S. birthday fair has backfired spectacularly as virtually nobody showed up. There was a man jacking off like 5 minutes into the thing publicly. We're getting some of the saddest videos we've ever seen. This is more like a funeral than a celebration of this country. So I'll show you all that stuff as well. Later on, Zohran goes full GIGACHAD as his haters are mauling and crying and bitching and moaning over a bunch of DSA wins that we've gotten one after the other after the other. And then also, the climate is so completely and utterly fucked that climate scientists have now thrown up their hands and have said, you know what? I don't even think it's savable at this point. I think we're past the point of no return. And even if we went to net zero carbon emissions, we're cooked. We're cooked. So we're honestly, I don't think it's a stretch to say we're in the midst of an apocalyptic event, an extinction level event right now. So just utterly devastating stuff. So you guys know the drill, man. If you haven't yet, please do me a big favor. Subscribe to the channel and click that bell icon. That helps us out big time and costs you nothing at all. You, of course, can also support the show on Patreon if you're so inclined. Just $1 or $2 a month goes a very long way because, as you all know, this is real independent media. I've never talked to an advertiser, never done an ad read, never will. You guys have supported the show from the ground up, from the very beginning. I'm deeply, deeply thankful about that. We couldn't be anything without you guys. So thank you all for your support. You can also sign up for Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. A link is below. And of course, go sub to Corin's World, where we do live Kyle and Corin episodes every Monday night, and you guys should come and hang out with us. All right, let's go ahead and jump right in, y'all. So, yet again, man, yet again, we're right back to square one, as I keep warning you that this is going to happen time after time after time. You can't make a deal with the U.S. You can't make a deal with Israel. We're full of shit. We're liars. We're con men. And so any sort of agreement that we come to with Iran is not worth the piece of fucking paper that it's written on, y'all. This should be obvious. So yet again, over the weekend, it's on like Donkey Kong. It pops off. The U.S. starts, carpet bombing inside Iran. So here we go. Look at a breakdown here from Fox News. This is what they said on Friday.
Joey, I just spoke to a senior U.S. defense official who confirms to me that the U.S. military is carrying out a new round of airstrikes against Iran right now. This is in response to the IRGC hitting a ship in the Strait of Hormuz earlier today. It was about...
Now, let me also point out, it's in response to the IRGC hitting a ship in the Strait of Hormuz. That ship was warned that it's going an unapproved, unofficial route in contravention of the agreement. So in other words, we violated the agreement yet again, and then Iran held up their end of the bargain, their end of the agreement, and said, you're not supposed to go this way. fired some shots, and then boom, the U.S. starts unleashing holy hell on Iran after that.
4:30 a.m. when that ship was hit near the Strait of Hormuz. That's the second ship in 2 days, and this is the second night of bombing that the U.S. military is carrying out. The targets include air defense systems, drone storage sites, cruise missiles, targeting radars, and mine-laying capabilities.
The U.S. says. That's the important part on that. They're going, oh, yeah, we're hitting all these high-level military targets. That's what I can guarantee you. You're going to trust Secretary of War Crimes Pete Kegsbreath and Donald J. Trump? I got a bridge to sell you if you do. This is what we're saying. We don't know what we're actually hitting. Okay.
As well as surface-to-air missiles. That's according to a U.S. official. I'm told that this strike is much larger than last night, which lasted for about an hour. Oh. Iran, I'm told, had a chance to stop shooting. This official said they didn't take it. Instead, they attacked another ship in this Strait of Hormuz this morning, the MT Kiku. That's the name of the ship. That ship was carrying about 200,000 barrels of oil, and so it could have been a disaster in the Strait of Hormuz, a very dangerous situation. These are attack drones, one-way attack drones that Iran and the IRGC have been sending towards these ships. I also learned that Iran last night responded to the first round of U.S. airstrikes, that 1 hour of airstrikes, with attacks of their own on U.S. forces in Bahrain. So they did target a U.S. base in Bahrain. The U.S. and Bahraini forces combined to shoot down 9 Iranian one-way attack drones, I'm told. No damage to or personnel injuries, according to a senior U.S. official. But this tit for tat seems to be escalating, and certainly is throwing into question whether this ceasefire is going to hold and whether this MOU is going to move forward.
It's certainly calling into question whether or not the ceasefire is going to hold. Oh, you don't say. I would say that this is, by definition, no longer a ceasefire, since both sides are no longer ceasing to fire. That would be like the obvious implication of what's happening here. Breaking. The U.S. Pentagon delayed publicly announcing U.S. strikes on Iran until after the U.S. stock market had closed at 4 p.m. on Friday. The timing of the announcement was reportedly intended to reduce the immediate impact on financial markets. So here we go. It's the same cycle again. Bomb over the weekend, and then come Sunday night, bro, actually, Iran just called and they said, you know what? Why can't we be friends? Why can't we be boys? Let's make a peace agreement, bro. Let's stop shooting. Now I love you, man, and I love you too, man. This is what happens. And by the way, who says it every Sunday night? Axios, Barack Ravid, the fucking Mossad asset who Trump uses to launder whatever the fuck he's saying to be his propaganda arm and to be Netanyahu's propaganda arm. So every Sunday, right before the futures markets open, were we bombing each other, bro? I don't even believe in violence anymore, bro. Let's make friends. And then, by the way, the market still falls for it every single time. Every single time you still have, the numbers start skyrocketing over some obvious fake fucking market manipulation that Trump is doing. Okay, ready for this? The Lebanese government came out and said they've handed over the following villages to Israel under its new normalization agreement. Lebanese citizens can no longer return to their homes and are experiencing a Nakba-like event if they are from all of these villages, y'all. Look on the screen here, all of these villages. This is a lot of them. The Israeli government is trying to come up with tricks to go around the memorandum of understanding. They're trying to get around the idea that they have to withdraw from southern Lebanon. And so they went to the Lebanese government, which is their puppet, by the way. It's their puppet. And with the Lebanese government, they said, oh, yeah, here's an agreement. You can stay in southern Lebanon and keep all of these territories. And then, the Israeli government goes to Trump and goes, bro, look, bro, the Lebanese government said it's cool and we can stay there. So we don't even have to pull out of Lebanon. Forget that memorandum of understanding. Technically, you could still say you're abiding by it, even though we're staying in southern Lebanon totally illegally because the Lebanese government says so. What's the problem with that? Like I said, the Lebanese government is not independent. The Lebanese government is an arm of Israel. The actual representative of the people inside Lebanon is Hezbollah, who are currently the only people fighting back to defend the people from Israeli invasion and assault and attack and land theft. So it's total bullshit. This is one of the many tricks that Israel has up its sleeve to try to continue to steal more and more territory as they pretend like, oh no, we're totally abiding by the so-called peace agreement as we're flagrantly not and stealing more and more of Lebanon. So this is so disgusting and dirty. And by the way, a lot of people don't know what I just told you. That, this isn't like, oh, the Lebanese government made a deal to give away half the country? That sounds legit. No, the Lebanese government is just a puppet of Israel. It's Hezbollah that actually represents the people in Lebanon. Jesus Christ, okay. Protests have broken out in Beirut after Lebanese authorities signed a framework agreement with Israel that critics believe will further entrench Israel's occupation of southern Lebanon. So yeah, that's how much the so-called Lebanese government represents the people of Lebanon, is that there was a massive, massive protest as soon as they heard about this so-called fake agreement. Look at some of these videos here. Look at this. They seem really happy, don't they? Don't they seem really happy? I believe what they're saying is, we love you, Israel. We love you, Netanyahu. Steal more and more of our country, please. I believe that's what they're saying if you translate it in a literal sense. All right, more. Stuff burning. Tires burning in the streets. More. So, look, the main takeaway here is you can't make a deal with Israel. You can't make a deal with the U.S. We are liars. The deal isn't worth the piece of paper that it's written on, and it's embarrassingly so. So now Iran's in a position where they're almost certainly going to close the Strait of Hormuz again. I mean, it's already the case that even at full capacity at the moment, it's only operating at a third of the level it was before the war because of all the mines that are now in the straits, okay? So that's a problem. But now why wouldn't they close it when we keep violating the deal? Now, by the way, it gets even worse. Israel is now heavily bombing southern Lebanon. Despite now 2 memorandums of understanding to stop the war, Israel continues to attack. Netanyahu will never stop. And by the way, Trump knows this, and Trump's not doing dick to actually reel him in. Again, let me say this as simply as possible. If Trump was actually in favor of peace with Iran, there's a very easy way to prove it. Cut off the money to Israel, cut off the weapons to Israel. That's it. No more talk, no more leaks to your fucking propagandist press that says, oh, Trump is really mad at Netanyahu. No, you can prove that by cutting off the money and cutting off the weapons, period. Only if and when you do that can Iran actually think, like, okay, they're serious about peace here because they're letting Israel rot on the vine. All right, look at this. Here we go. Jesus Christ. Bro. Not only are things exploding, it is like apocalyptic type explosions. Here's the cover story from Israel. Oh, we're trying to bomb the tunnels that we say are underneath the villages in South Lebanon or something. And so they're using these massive, massive bombs, and they're doing a tremendous amount of damage. And I'm reminded of during the genocide in Gaza, they used these thermobaric vacuum bombs that literally vaporize humans as soon as they hit the ground. And now they're using these in southern Lebanese villages, y'all. That's what's happening, and that's what these people are recording. From a long distance away, you still see the sky light up. It's crazy.
Yeah, Muhammad.
All right, so right on cue. Here we go. Sunday night, the U.S. and Iran have agreed to stop attacking each other and plan to meet on Tuesday in Doha to work out their dispute over the Strait of Hormuz. By the way, total fucking bullshit. Iran already was like, that's not true. We didn't agree to that. Midas Touch said, we're back to the Sunday market manipulation loop, folks. That's exactly what's going on now. Okay, the siren has been sounded. Citizens and residents are urged to remain calm and head to the nearest safe place. Sirens now sounding in Bahrain, likely an Iranian response to the latest U.S. attacks. And by the way, as you're going to see here, the 5th Fleet headquarters in Bahrain got absolutely cooked, got barbecued by the IRGC. So yet again, U.S. bases bearing the brunt in the Gulf Arab states, bearing the brunt of the retaliatory strikes. Look at this. Oh my God. Okay. Jesus Christ. Just in, the U.S. is now the first World Cup host nation in history to bomb a competing country, Iran, on the same day it hosted them. Now that is loathsome. That's one of the things you do not want to be in the history books for. That's wild, man. And by the way, let me just say, Iran got screwed. They waved off a goal when it was like a fucking a millimeter offsides, if that. Dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. They need to change that offsides rule to be more than just like, you have a pube hair was past the defense, so it's offside. They got absolutely positively fucking screwed. Everybody knows it. And it just feels like They were treated so unfairly when they came here. They were forced to leave immediately after their games. They couldn't recover. They had to fly back to fucking Mexico and stay in Mexico. They were treated in an absolutely disgusting sense. And fuck the U.S. having this here. Fuck FIFA for allowing the U.S. to have the World Cup here. And fuck the guy who runs FIFA, who gave Trump a FIFA Peace Prize. And then now we learn shit like this. They're bombing Iran as Iran is being hosted here to play in the World Cup. God, I fucking can't stand these people. Another thing that we've been seeing, J.D. Vance has been going around lying about the Memorandum of Understanding, lying about the terms of the deal, saying that the terms that are in there are actually not in there at all, okay? You also have the Gulf Arab states are coming out and saying, we don't know what the fuck they're talking about with this deal. We weren't told anything about this deal. So remember they said, oh, Iran's going to get a $300 billion investment fund. And Trump and J.D. Vance go, that's not U.S. tax money. We're not giving them U.S. tax money. It's an investment fund, and it's going to be paid for by the Gulf Arab states. Okay, well, here's one of the top guys representing the Gulf Arab states from Kuwait, and here's what he says.
Not something new to our. We've discussed
it's not
it
coming out of nowhere.
Yes,
yeah.
Discussed it bilaterally with them.
Okay.
For the 300, I have not seen anything. It was not introduced to me nor to other GCC countries. We don't know anything about it.
It's not part of the conversations you had with Mr. Rubio.
Nothing. We did not discuss.
Didn't you ask him?
Why would I ask him if it's not introduced to me? You know, I would ask him if somebody has a plan for the region. We don't know what is the 300, who's going to fund the 300, who's going to be the beneficiary of the 300. We really don't know anything about it.
The U.S. trots around going, oh yeah, we made a deal with Iran. We made a memorandum of understanding. We're ironing out the terms of a peace agreement. And then you blink and they're bombing them again. Okay? And every single term of the deal, they go, oh, no, we didn't agree to that. What the fuck? Well, then why are the terms coming out and it's on paper that you agree to these things? And then they go, oh yeah, and it's okay. The Gulf Arab countries are going to pay for the for the stuff, man, for the $300 billion investment fund. And then the Gulf Arab countries are like, nobody ever said shit to us about this. What are you talking about? This is a joke. This country is now a sick joke. It's a pathetic joke. As I said 1,000 times, Trump is not fit to manage a fucking Arby's. Never mind, run the United States of America. All right, well, how about this? Iran's Fars News says it's time to build the nuclear bomb. The commentary argues Iran's only path to lasting security is a nuclear deterrent, claiming conventional military strength is no longer enough to prevent invasion or the country's partition. Its message is simple. Study China. It argues the U.S. stopped threatening Beijing with nuclear attack and started negotiating only after China became a nuclear power. The lesson, it says, is that nuclear weapons do not stop wars. They limit how far an enemy is willing to escalate. For decades, Iranian officials insisted their nuclear program was peaceful. Now the U.S. war is pushing many to accept that only a nuclear weapon can deter future attacks. Now let me say right up front here, this is just 100% factually accurate. Ask yourself why there's not a war in North Korea right now. It's because Kim Jong-un has a nuke. That's why there's not a war there. Ask yourself why Saddam Hussein was overthrown. It's because he didn't have a nuke. Ask why Gaddafi was overthrown. It's because he gave up his weapons of mass destruction. Then he was overthrown by the U.S. and sodomized with a bayonet. Okay? The takeaway is very straightforward. It's very clear. You need nuclear weapons to be safe, period. In this era, you need nuclear weapons to be safe. That's the only way you guarantee that we won't fuck with you. Okay, so that's true. However, it wasn't the Iranian government that said this. It was Fars News. Now, they may have links to the government, but it's really an opinion of somebody on Fars News saying, we need the nuke. Now, a lot of people are spinning this as the IRGC announces they're going to pursue a nuke. That's not true. That's fake news. They have said nothing of the such. Okay, this is the equivalent of like somebody on Fox News saying, we need to do X, Y, or Z. It's the state propaganda, but it's not from the state itself, if that makes any sense. So, but look, it's factually correct. And they fed the logic of Iran needing a nuke. Funny enough, we had everything ironed out with the JCPOA, the Iranian nuclear agreement that Obama did. They were following the agreement perfectly. We were giving them back their own money, and they were allowing us to regulate what they can enrich to, so they only have nuclear power for their power grid and scientific research. Now, they're like, well, shit, we should have a nuclear weapon. That's the only way we can keep ourselves safe, and that's true. How about this? An Iranian army spokesperson. We have serious plans in two areas: domestic production and procurement of advanced equipment from friendly countries. We will certainly be equipped with more advanced systems in the coming days. So in other words, it sounds like China, or it sounds like Russia, is about to send them more advanced weaponry or more advanced defensive systems. So they're already outperforming what the U.S. government thought they could do in terms of their capabilities on the battlefield, and now they're saying, we're about to upgrade even more in this bitch. That's what they're saying. All right, more. Next week's U.S.-Iran talks in Switzerland have reportedly been canceled following renewed attacks. Robert Pape says, everyone should watch this. Iran's top military advisor to Supreme Leader explains the current escalation is over Hormuz fees. U.S. White House says, no way. This is the escalation trap before your eyes. So listen to this. Here we go.
But regarding fees, there is a cost dimension to this matter. There is a tolls discussion, a fees discussion. Our current discussion is about service costs in the Strait of Hormuz. Yes, we want to maintain the security of the Strait of Hormuz. We want to protect the environment of the Strait of Hormuz. We must establish insurance mechanisms so that if incidents occur, ships that encounter problems are covered to reduce their risk. And when we provide all of this, these costs cannot come out of the pockets of the Iranian people. These costs must be collected from those who are transporting oil through this strait.
Just moments ago, the White House formally responding to our interview with Dr. Rezai. This is from Anna Kelly, White House Principal Deputy Press Secretary, saying there are no tolls, no insurance costs, and no other charges of any kind being sought or received by Iran on ships traveling the Strait of Hormuz. The president has been clear that Iran cannot toll the strait. That was a big part of the reason you saw Secretary of State Marco Rubio here in the region this week, as many Gulf state allies have articulated concerns that they've heard this Iranian perspective that they intend to institute fees for ships transiting the Strait of Hormuz. He said to them that any agreement struck between Iran and the United States will protect them from any tolls and that none will be allowed to be passed down. And moreover, this week, President Trump was asked if a deal was put on the table in which Iran could toll the Strait of Hormuz in exchange for other deals and other appropriations on the table. The president said that would not fly with him. He described it as a quote-unquote game changer and would not accept a deal that tolls the Strait of Hormuz.
See, this is what I mean when I say there's irreconcilable differences. We have irreconcilable differences between the U.S. and Iran. And so how you can iron out these differences, I don't even know if it's possible. Basically, the U.S. is going to have to hold the L, going to have to surrender, going to have to be like, okay, look, we tried, we failed. Iran's in a much stronger position. They control the strait. Now, Iran is trying to soften the blow by saying, oh, no, we're not taxing people or charging a fee to go through the Strait of Hormuz. It's an environmental protection thing or a servicing thing. They're trying to soften the blow by saying, we'll call it this for you if you want. But Trump is going, not at all, never going to be a toll, never going to be a toll. Okay, well, then the Strait of Hormuz is going to be shut in perpetuity, and we're going to have a massive Great Depression globally because the oil market just permanently lost 20% of its oil and gas. Congratulations. Like, you want that? You want that? Or you want to hold the fucking L? Hold your big fat juicy L, you bitch, is what I would say to Trump. So look at this, man. The USA is conducting the largest logistical operation in its history, a statistical analysis. This 30-second video shows the U.S. air logistical activity in West Asia over the past 7 days alone, accelerated by 20,000 times. At the same time, such activity has been ongoing around the clock for 76 days. We are talking about the largest airlift in U.S. military history, which surpasses even the operation during the Iraq War in 2003 in its scale. Such a volume of cargo transfers far exceeds the usual replenishment of supplies. All U.S. strategic warehouses in the region are almost fully loaded and continue to be brought to their maximum capacity. The U.S. Army is not spending billions of dollars on empty threats or demonstrative maneuvers. All this indicates preparation for a preemptive, paralyzing strike and possibly the start of a ground operation. So you can see here, and this is all publicly available stuff, but you play this, and there's a lot of U.S. military plane activity going in and out of the Middle East, and it's been happening for quite a while. And so now people are speculating, well, what the fuck are we looking at here? And the theory is we're using this MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, to give ourselves the cover to basically reload and refresh and replenish and make it so that we're ready for the next phase. Now, what's the next phase? Well, some are speculating a ground war. Seems like CIA coup with the downstream objective of clearing the way to organize ground operations against Iran from Iraq. Okay, guys, this just happened the other day. Breaking, Iraqi Prime Minister Ali al-Zaidi appears to have launched a coup d'etat against elements within the Iraqi government in an effort to purge and arrest government officials with ties to the Islamic regime of Iran. Iraqi news media are claiming that the U.S. government is behind this coup d'etat. Okay, so they went in there and they made arrests in Baghdad's Green Zone, including all the politicians who are Shia and more pro-Iran. And so there's videos of it too, sneaking in with guns, gunfire being heard, some sort of a coup going on inside Iraq. And so as I said, the idea here is, are they trying to clear the way to make it so that Iraq is used as basically the base for invading Iran? Okay, so they say here, Iraq is the only country suitable to stage ground ops against Iran. No other GCC will work. Sea to land invasions have 25% losses of troops in the first week on average. My thinking is that some kind of combined U.S. Kurdish-Iraqi invasion of Iran from Iraq is being prepared now to grab Iran's oil. Iraq and Kurds will provide the main volume of troops, with U.S. contributing 50,000 that are already there. The Memorandum of Understanding period is being used to arrange all of this. So something's going on. Something very, very fucking fishy is going on, y'all. I'm not seeing many people talk about this at all. I'm not seeing many people talk about the increase in U.S. military plane activity, the MOU being used as a cover for something bigger. Also, some things that are on the table, of course, is some more devastating type of attack, maybe using a Moab, a mother of all bombs, on Iran, or something to that effect. Whatever it is, I fear what's coming next, because Trump is caught. He's in a corner. And he's dumb enough to think, if I just do another massive attack, if I make a big boom boom, then they'll say you win and they'll give me anything I want. They'll open the Strait of Hormuz. I think he's dumb enough to think that way. Tim Dillon, the right-leaning comic, just did a thing the other day where he was saying, oh, just so you know, Trump definitely wants to drop a nuke. This is a guy who in his first term was talking about dropping a nuke on hurricanes because he thought maybe it'll stop a hurricane dead in his tracks. He actually inquired about that as president in his first term. This guy's interested. He's done everything but drop a nuke. Now he's thinking, what if I just dropped a nuke? Is that on the table? I think it is on the table. I think people are not taking that threat anywhere near seriously enough. He's gotten away with everything else to this point. Why wouldn't he think, yeah, I'll do that too? Clearly, he doesn't care about the elections in any serious way. He's just shoved his head in the sand and is pretending like he's super popular, even though he's not. What's preventing him from dropping a nuke? He's always wanted to drop a nuke. This is a guy who had Mein Kampf on his bedside table, and he would read it all the time. He just wants to be in history. He doesn't care how. He just wants to be in history. This was verified by the new book Regime Change that just came out with a lot of insider information. Trump views himself as Mao or Stalin, one of these larger-than-life historical figures whose main contribution is a colossal death toll. So very, very disturbing stuff. And finally, we'll end with this. The IDF's Southern Command's intelligence officer, October 9th, 2023, quote, I'm going to say something harsh now. Be strong. We view the 100 hostages we have inside the Gaza Strip as dead. More evidence of Israel's Hannibal doctrine, not just a one-time order, but as the standard modus operandi. This transcript was published 2 months ago on Khan 11's Zaman Emet. So they're just saying the quiet part out loud there. Here's another one. October 7, 2023, early morning, Israel's police command center, quote, strike Gaza, break it all apart, along with the soldiers who got abducted. In the first hours of Operation Al-Aqsa Flood, while conversing with Israel's police chief, Kobi Shabtai, another senior officer calls to implement the Hannibal Directive and destroy Gaza along with the Israeli captives. Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir later arrives and orders to stop filming the meeting, aired on Channel 12. This stuff is fucking incredibly fishy, incredibly disturbing. But the idea, it was only defensive and all they cared about was getting the hostages back, it was all a fucking lie. All of it was a lie. And as you all know, it was Netanyahu who funded Hamas in the first place. Everybody knows Netanyahu funded Hamas in the first place. They had a stand-down order for the longest time when the October 7th attacks were happening. And then here they are going, kill them all, even our hostages. We don't give a fuck. Let's just level all of Gaza. These are the types of people we are dealing with. This is the nature of the Israeli terror regime, and this is the nature of the MAGA psychopaths in this country who worship death and destruction, who are horrifying and atrocious. So, terrible, terrible updates. I don't know when this thing is actually ever going to come to an end, y'all. Prepare for a long-term catastrophic economic situation, because at some point, we're absolutely positively going to hit rock bottom when it comes to oil and gas. And we're talking about rationing. We're talking about $6, $7 a gallon gasoline. And nobody's thinking about it. Nobody's diving deep on it. We're just sitting here watching the next episode of the end of the world unfold right in front of us. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to. All right, y'all, we got to talk about this America 250 Great American State Fair, or whatever the hell it's called. Oh, my word, is this thing an absolute disaster. It is a catastrophe, okay? Every video I see on this thing is sadder than the last one. To sum it up, nobody showed up to this shit. Like, nobody. I'm talking like, there's like 7 grandmas and one dude in one of those like scooters that you ride around on, right? It is the cheapest gathering I've ever seen in my life. There's one sad Ferris wheel. There's a bunch of booths set up that look like they're built with fucking cardboard. There's the worst entertainment you've ever heard in your entire life. I mean, this thing is a national embarrassment, okay? This was supposed to be an actual giant celebration of this country until Trump decided, I'm going to make myself the centerpiece. Okay, it became more affiliated with MAGA and Trump than it became with the United States of America and our founding. And so, as a result of that, he kicked it off by giving a big speech. By the way, hundreds of people started walking out about halfway through the speech, which led to people speculating that those were paid people from Craigslist getting $50 a pop, and then they hit the amount of time they were required to be there and then dipped out that bitch, right? People were speculating about that. And so that kicked it off, and everything since then has just been the most humiliating, pathetic thing I've ever seen. There's been a number of weather delays and days it was canceled. Trump has this big mock example of his Arc de Trump, which he's illegally trying to build. That bitch looks like they put it together with fucking styrofoam. I mean, it is so sad. Now, listen to this. This is crazy. So here's what it was originally supposed to be. Ready? I worked at Smithsonian specifically raising money for the 250th. What I want people to know is we secured millions of private philanthropy to host a month-long folk-like festival on the mall. The Festival of Festivals was going to feature well-known festivals, think Burning Man, Farm Aid, Grand Ole Opry, etc., as well as smaller local and regional festivals from across the U.S. and territories. Goal was to feature truly the best and most beautiful creative expression in music, dance, arts and crafts traditions, food, community, etc. Can't name names, but plan was to have headliners every night for free concerts. Think the types of names who might be affiliated with the aforementioned large festivals. Stars were willing to perform because it was under the banner of the Smithsonian. It had to be all scrapped because the administration would not release permits to host on the mall. The money went elsewhere, but our nation was robbed of what would have been a once-in-a-generation cultural movement. And that's the other thing, right? So they made it all about Trump, and what happened with all the money, right? What happened with all the money? Well, it's exactly like the fucking reflecting pool, which he hired some mobster asshole to fix and failed miserably, and the paint's chipping off, and the water's all green with algae. It's the same with another fountain he had that he paid like 10 times the amount he was supposed to pay in another no-bid contract. They're skimming the top off all this shit. Where's the money going? Directly into the fucking Trump family's pockets. That's where it's going. Everybody knows that. Everybody should know that at this late date. So this is what it was supposed to be. And then it became directly affiliated with Trump, and the thing is now hot garbaggio. This is Trump's Great American State Fair. Look at this. That's the saddest thing I've ever seen in my life. That is the saddest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. They look like they put this together on 3 hours' notice. They called some cheap-ass company, put it together on 3 hours' notice. Look how empty this shit is, okay? Look at this. So few people there. More. So few people there. Incredibly, incredibly weak attendance. Look at this one. This one's going in the history books, y'all. This one's going in the history books. Here are the people who are attending this. They're in their fucking motorized scooter, and they have roughly 14 minutes left to live. That's what's going on, okay? How about this one? The Great American State Fair. This video has been going viral. Look at this. Oh my days. Oh no.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are Cirque Mechanics. We're all the way from Las Vegas, really excited to be here with the National Endowment for the Arts on the mall for the 250th. We're going to start out with Ozzy and the Drum.
Oh my days. Oh no. Oh, that's so horrible. All right, Peter Ducey claims people are still coming out, acting like, hey, this is a great turnout here. Meanwhile, in the background, you see how nobody's fucking there.
Do you ever in your wildest dreams think you may be doing your Sunday show from a state fair on the National Mall? How great is this?
It's really something. And the weather, not the best today, but people are still coming out.
People are still coming out.
People are still coming out. Look behind them. Oh, no.
Listen, we need rain, so we'll take it. The farmers need the rain, so we're going to be okay with it.
We do need rain.
Fox is out there trying to hype this thing up. 7 people in the background, wandering around, don't know where they are, weather delays, food's disgusting. By the way, the power went out for a little bit, all the ice cream melted. Oh no. All right, how about this one in the Daily Mail? MAGA fan accused of masturbating at Donald Trump's Great American State Fair in largest setback for embattled event. What an oh-so-British way of describing this absolute failure. It's an embattled event. So the Great American State Fair lasted approximately 17 minutes before a guy got caught masturbating in public. America 250. Isn't that too spot on for our 250th birthday? That is just too on the nose for our 250th birthday. We have become a disgusting country that is so hyper-individualistic, so anti-community, that you put together this shitty event, of which they're stealing like probably half the fucking money for it. It's the worst event anybody's ever seen, and you got mentally ill people out there beating off in front of the 7 people who are there. We're such a hyper-individualistic and mentally ill country that nobody bat an eyelash when they saw this story. Like, oh yeah, of course, the guy who jacks off in public. Duh, that happens everywhere in this disgusting, godforsaken country. All right, how about this one? I guess no one at the Great American Fair wants to listen to the Jesus music on the mall. Oh God. Oh God, here we go.
Yahweh, Yahweh.
Oh no.
Yahweh, 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 Yahweh. Yahweh.
Again, too perfect for America's 250th birthday that you see the American flag here and the Israeli flag next to it. Oh no. Oh no. As we cause the next Great Depression to appease the terrorist rape state known as Israel in the Middle East, as they try to create a greater Israel and steal the entire Middle East. Okay, if Paula White isn't going to be there yapping in tongues and performing exorcisms, I'm not interested. A baptism pool was not on my Great American State Fair bingo card, so I think this is in the same, like, weird fucking AI slop Christian church singing one that you just saw. It's in the same tent. Here we go. Bro. Come on, man. Come on, you got a baptism pool? What the fuck, bro? What the fuck? Donald Trump's 250th U.S. birthday event versus Barack Obama's 2026 opening of his library. What's the difference? What's the difference? You guys tell me. Okay, there were more people watching Iran play soccer in the United States last night than at the America 250 Fest. So here's people watching Iran play soccer. Now, as I said, I think Iran got totally screwed in this event, too, by the way. They scored a goal and they called it offsides because it was literally like a fucking millimeter offsides. They need to change the offsides rule to be more than just like, hey, you have a pubic hair that's past the defender. I think it's so stupid. So they got robbed. I think they should have, went on to the next round. But either way, more support for Iran in this country than for this stupid fucking fair. Here's another. And this was one of the busier moments. And look at this.
Happy early birthday, America. We're celebrating already at the Great American State Fair. Man, we've got thousands of people celebrating.
I don't know about that, homie. I don't know about thousands.
This birthday with us, Tommy. You and I had a chance to go out. We got to see some of the exhibits. I'm sure you got what I got, which was a lot of people going, hey, love to watch it on Fox. I hope a lot of them left the mall, went home and turned on their TV and are watching this right now.
It's so funny that Fox is desperately trying to hype this thing up. Meanwhile, it's just failing miserably. All right, organizers for the North Carolina booth at Trump's partisan event, the Great American State Fair, had to remove an image of a Confederate flag displayed in the state's pavilion on the National Mall. The state didn't put it up. At least one sponsor has pulled out. So let me point out here, there's at least a dozen states that said, we're just not going to participate in this thing. They know it's a ruse. They know it's bullshit. They know it's been now more about Trump than about the 250th birthday. So a bunch of states were like, kick rocks. We're not sending a booth, right? There was nobody sent for the main delegation. So you had a booth that had 2 chairs and then like a bunch of walls that had random facts about Maine written on the walls. That's the whole Maine thing. North Carolina didn't participate either. So you had these other booths, sort of like these private people set up these booths that they claim are nominally for different states. One of them had a Confederate flag. There's nothing better in this moment of like the Trump regime destroying everything that's good and righteous about this country. There's nothing more spot on than them flying a Confederate flag at a celebration of America when the Confederate flag were literal traitors. They were literal traitors to this country. They said, we don't want to be part of the U.S. anymore. We want out this bitch. If you're not going to let us own black people, then fuck off. We're going to create our own country. How about that? And now you're flying that at the 250th birthday? What the fuck is that? That's like going to an anniversary party for your wife, and at that, you're celebrating your ex-wife or something like that. That'd be insane. That's ridiculous. But these people, they've gotten away with far too much. I'm sorry. The South, the conservatives, the Republicans, MAGA, they've gotten away with far too fucking much in this country, okay? They've destroyed everything good about this country, which is probably why nobody's showing up to this thing, right? Is that everybody knows now it's the Trump event. It's got nothing to do with America's birthday, and so everybody's disgusted by it. Why should we celebrate a country that's carpet bombing little girls in Iran right now? Genuinely, answer that question. Why should we celebrate that country? Why should we celebrate a country where Trump just passed a bill that's going to shut 742 hospitals? Why should we do that? Why should we celebrate when 18 million people were kicked off their Medicaid? What's there to celebrate? What's there to celebrate when Trump just made it so that we don't need to have clean water or clean air anymore and they could pollute the shit out of it? What is there to celebrate when Trump just greenlit using more glyphosate in our food supply, which is going to give more of us cancer and we're going to die young? What the fuck is there to celebrate? There's nothing to fucking celebrate. They are looting this country. They are protecting Epstein pedophiles. They're protecting a literal billionaire elite cabal of pedophiles. What am I supposed to celebrate? How am I supposed to? Am I supposed to celebrate ICE rounding up innocent people and destroying their lives and sending them to concentration camps? What's there to fucking celebrate? There's nothing to fucking celebrate. Okay? We didn't make it 250 years. This is a fucking funeral for this country. We didn't make it. This is like the end of this country. And nobody knows it. And nobody fucking knows it. And so, this thing is just getting sadder and sadder by the day. It's getting worse and worse. It just goes to show you everything Trump touches turns to shit. This is the Timu presidency. This is like the budget presidency. He takes all the money for himself, puts up cheap-ass, tacky-ass, gaudy-ass, Great Gatsby-ass gold fixtures all over the place, right? And meanwhile, the plebs get the crumbs. And so you get these cardboard fucking box booths with some fucking melted ice cream and some hibachi with chicken that'll make you sick. You have to listen to weird Christian Zionist singing. You have to watch a guy jack off in public for the 250th birthday. I mean, it is the saddest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. But it's all too spot on. Just like with his fucking, remember the military parade? I was genuinely worried that thing was going to be a fascist show of strength and power. Instead, you had them creaky-ass tanks rolling down the street. You had the drones. I forgot about this, but the drones, you literally had soldiers carrying the drones and holding it above their heads like this. They weren't even flying the drones. They were just carrying the drones like this. There were 7 people in the audience. It was a disaster. And this is everything Trump touches. Somebody said the other day, why is it everybody around Trump ends up getting like cancer and getting sick? It's because the man gives off a genuinely demonic energy. He is so narcissistic and so selfish and, so dark that he gives off this disgusting demonic energy. Everything he touches turns to shit. Everybody around him gets sick. He is like the antithesis of all that is good and just. And this is what that end result looks like. The saddest festival of all time.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
All right, y'all, so we got to talk about this. Zohran Mamdani cannot stop racking up wins. The guy is just a win machine. As somebody said the other day on social media, it's like there's a big, giant red make everything better button, and this man just wakes up and presses it every day. Just like, make things better, make things better, make things better. And he's reminding everybody that it is possible for the government to do good things. That it is possible for the government to fight on your behalf and make your life better. He's reminding everybody that. So, naturally, that leads to Republicans whining and crying and bitching and moaning and mauling and shrieking and screaming and falling apart. It's not fair. You're not supposed to actually deliver for people. But you also have the corporate Democrats, the Diet MAGA Democrats, who are whining and crying and bitching and moaning as well and acting like, well, hold on now, you've gone too far left. What does that even mean? What does that fucking mean? Explain in specific policy terms what exactly is too far left here. I'll fucking wait. And they don't have an answer. They don't have an answer because they know we're winning and we're making people's lives better. So Mamdani sits down for an interview with ABC
And this really speaks for itself. He is win-maxing. He is victory-mogging every single fucking corporate Democrat and Republican hack in this country. And he delivers a masterclass here. Let's watch.
You've had a heck of a week. I mean, the election, the candidates you endorsed, one down the line, and you knocked off 2 Democratic incumbent members of Congress. Is this like a unique moment in New York, or is this the beginning of a national movement?
I think we are seeing a hunger that is not just felt by New Yorkers, but frankly by Americans from coast to coast for a new kind of politics, one that puts working people at the heart of it. And I think for far too long, what we as a party have been able to say to New Yorkers who are struggling is simply to explain why they're struggling, not actually offer them a vision for how to make life better. And these candidates, Brad, Daria Lisa, Claire, they ran campaigns that spoke to working people and that said life in the nation's most expensive city need not be this way any longer. And I can't wait to have them as partners in D.C. in that work.
So do you see yourself endorsing candidates outside of New York, or?
For now, my focus is on this incredible slate of 3 congressional candidates, as well as you said, the 5 candidates I endorsed who ran and won, who are all going to be heading to Albany in the state legislature. But I do think, as you said, it's not just New York City where working people are asking themselves, why can't I afford my rent? Why can't I afford my groceries? Why can't I find enough money in my pocket for childcare, no matter how hard I work? And I'm so excited that these incredible soon-to-be Congress members will be helping to lead the fight across the country on making sure that working people are right there where they should be, which is the heart of the conversation.
The reaction from Democrats has been something. You've had some prominent Democrats dismissive of what happened here. I mean, you had Senator Blumenthal say the effort to nationalize New York is going to fail. What happened in New York will be really irrelevant by the time of the elections in November. Hakeem Jeffries basically said the same thing, saying that this is not indicative of what needs to happen in November. What do you make of that?
I think that when you ask Americans what they're feeling in this moment, amidst reports of an economy that's strengthening, of a stock market that's booming, you will hear an exhaustion and having to try and make ends meet every single day, every single week, every single month, and that it's getting harder and harder. And so a message of fighting for working people, we don't have to nationalize that message. That is a national message. It's a national crisis. And for far too long, all we've had to say as a party is opposition to the current administration. What do we have to say beyond that? And what these candidates offer is a vision that extends beyond the midterms, it extends beyond 2028. It speaks to what makes so many of us proud to be Democrats. It speaks to a vision that goes back to a New Deal understanding of what working people deserve.
Understand what's so brilliant about what he's doing here. What he's doing is he's flipping the corporate Democrats' argument back on them, where they come out and they go, what are you doing? We're the real Democrats. You're the fake Democrats. You guys are socialists. You don't even like the Democratic Party. You guys, don't you want to go off and do like a third party or some shit? Like, shut the fuck up and go away. And he's flipping that. And he's saying, no, bitch, we're the real Democrats. Why? We're the ones who are following in the footsteps of what this party was always supposed to be. Think about FDR. Think about the New Deal. Think about Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, these giant social safety net programs, shovel-ready jobs, things of that nature. Think about all these elements of socialism that have been put in place in our system. This is the most American thing. This is the most democratic thing. So you can't say to us, we're not the real Democrats. How about you're not the real Democrats? How about the corporate Democrat, the neoliberal Democrat philosophy only goes back to fucking 1992. With Bill Clinton and the DLC, when they basically caved to the Ronald Reagan framing of issues and said, okay, we're also neoliberals. Okay, we'll also take corporate money and billionaire money. And Zohran's coming along and go, no, let's go back to our roots in the Democratic Party. That's what he's doing. That's what he's saying. With, of course, the difference being it's not just about economic populism. It's also about racial justice and equality for minorities. So it's taking the good parts of the FDR legacy, but then updating it because you dropped the racism part of it, right? That's all. That's all he's saying. So he's saying we're the real Democrats. That's what he's saying.
And I'll tell you that for too long, that kind of politics, you can only find it in history books, and we need to bring it back to the present day.
And you're hearing some not just dismissive, though. There's resentment. And this is from fellow Democrats who think that this could jeopardize Democratic chances.
No, the reality is they're dinosaurs. They realize that their time has passed. They realize that they're out of step with the base of the party, and so they're lashing out. That's what this is. It's not that the idea, oh, this is going to have electoral concerns. No, what they're actually concerned about is it's going to work, and it is working. That's what they're concerned about. The idea that like, oh no, we're going to lose because you've gone too far left. That's nonsense. That's cope. That's the cover story. The real concern is they're afraid it's going to win, and then there's no place for them anymore in the Democratic Party as leaders, as these corporate Democrat leaders who represent industry and represent billionaires and represent the military-industrial complex and represent the AI tech companies. That's the reality here.
fall. I mean, you've got Josh Gottheimer, a Democratic member of Congress, says many of us believe.
Hardcore Zionist, by the way. Hardcore Zionist.
As do I. If you're a socialist, you are not a Democrat. And in fact, they put out a manifesto today. Have you seen this thing?
Sounds pretty socialist to me.
It's like.
So Gottheimer puts out a manifesto, and Zohran's like, who's the socialist here? That sounds pretty socialist to me.
Communist manifesto. It's a moderate manifesto saying we are capitalist, not socialist. We believe in a growing, fair, and competitive economy, entrepreneurship, ownership. I mean, this is a direct response. They've made it clear to what you did here on Tuesday.
Well, I mean, that's great, but what's a party if not its voters? And I'm proud to sit in front of you as the mayor of our city, having received more than 1 million votes a little less than a year ago. And when we're talking about these incredible congressional candidates, they won their races, and they won their races with a vision of what politics should be, and one that actually speaks to working people. And for a lot of people who ask themselves, what does democratic socialism mean? And you can tell them the answer at a theoretical level. It's the choice to extend democracy from the ballot box the rest of their lives. But in terms of what it means over these last 7 months, we've seen a city with democratic socialist principles at the heart of it within our administration. And what we've delivered has been record lows when it comes to murders and shootings.
So is it pragmatic democratic socialism?
I think democratic socialism at the heart is pragmatic, because if we cannot deliver for working people, then what is this for? I'm not interested in writing a manifesto or frankly in reading one. I'm interested in delivering, and that's exactly what we've been showing.
Oh, that's a flawless victory, Mortal Kombat style. Oh my days. He said, I'm not interested in reading your little manifesto, bitch. I'm busy governing and winning over here. Oh, you wrote a manifesto? That's cute. I'm over here freezing the rent, motherfucker. Oh no, Zohran. You don't have to do him like that, man. God damn. This comes way too easy to him. Republicans are the luckiest motherfuckers on planet Earth that this guy was not born in this country and he can't run for president, okay? They are so fucking lucky. Nobody has ever been more lucky than Republicans in this moment, because this guy would rack up over 400 electoral college votes. Yet again, Zohran flips it completely. The stereotype of the socialist is like, look at these fucking weirdo eggheads obsessed with theory, writing their little manifestos. What about the rubber meeting the road, bitch? What about actually governing in the real world? What about practical and pragmatic reality? You guys are not connected to reality at all. This was always the knock on democratic socialists and socialists more broadly, and Zohran flips it. You have the malding fucking centrist who's furious. I wrote a manifesto to show you how much I disagree with you. Here's my manifesto. And Zohran goes, that's cute. I'm not going to read this, sweetie pie. I'm a little busy governing and fixing shit right now. I'm a little busy cracking down on shitty landlords. I'm a little busy ordering a deep cleaning of the subway. I'm a little busy getting universal childcare and freezing the rent and filling a record number of potholes and taxing the rich. I'm a little busy delivering for the people of New York to read your cute little manifesto. Look, this is how you got to handle this shit. This is how you got to handle it. You know, not to compare myself to him at all, but people mauled and cry and whine and bitch and moan about me online all the time, both Republicans and then also you have, people who are nominally on my side who whine and cry and bitch and moan about me. That's great. Cry your eyes out. I'm not fucking listening to your criticisms. I don't give a shit. I'm over here doing my own goddamn thing. And he's basically doing the same thing, except as governor of New York, whose approval rating is soaring because he keeps delivering wins for the people. Oh my days. Gottheimer, just resign after that, bro. You got dog walked, bro. You got sunned in this exchange.
But they're saying that if you're a socialist, you're not a Democrat. I mean, is there room in the party for both of these views?
Yes, here I am. Here are so many more. And I think what makes our party a beautiful party is the fact that it's a big tent, that we have
But you've also said it has to be a party with a spine, with a backbone.
Yes, so even a tent has to stay up.
Yes, so does it have to stand firmly for these ideas that you're talking about that others are calling dangerous?
I think it has to stand for working people, and I think it has to be willing to fight for working people. And I think that there are some who are offended by the prospect of a party that knows who it fights for and goes every day to work for that. Because what we've seen over many years is a willingness to not only explain away the status quo, but frankly even to look to benefit from the status quo. And that's not what working people are looking for from our party.
As New Yorkers were going to vote, you said something interesting. You said the race for 2028 starts now, the presidential race. What did you mean by that?
Well, a lot of pundits ask me about this race and what it means and how to think about it. And at the core of Tuesday's results was a message from Democratic voters across the largest city in the United States of America about the kind of politics they want to see. And we know that we oppose the cruelty of the federal administration. What is it that we stand for beyond that?
So you can't just be anti-Trump.
You can't. You got to have something you are not just willing to stand up for, but that you're also willing to explain how this is relevant to working people. And I think this just comes back to the fact that I'm leading a city that's the wealthiest city in the wealthiest country in the history of the world. I could end the sentence there and say that life is great for 8.5 million people, but it's also a city where 1 in 4 are living in poverty. And for far too many Americans, those contradictions have become their day-to-day life. And we need a party that's able to recognize the strengths of this economy and understand that it hasn't reached enough people.
Now, there's been a lot of attention. One of the candidates you supported, who won, who knocked off an incumbent Democrat, is Darlisa Villa-Chalier. She said some very controversial things, including calling for the abolition of prisons. Couldn't say whether or not somebody could.
Can I just say, bro, I fucking love this shit. I love it so much. I've always told you guys, I've maintained from the very beginning of this show, I will always and consistently, if given an option to vote for somebody to my left, I will vote for that person, because it's not like the people to my left are going to get their entire slate of policy ideas implemented. That's not how the system works. What we need is people to my left to be in power so they can drag the Overton window back to sanity. The right has moved off the spectrum to the right, okay? And that's made it so the center has gone right as well. We need people who are to the left of me to drag us back to sanity in this country. And so I love it that it appears to be the case that Daria Lisa is actually like a legit communist. But you know what? God fucking bless. I love it. I'm not that. I'm more of a social democrat or a democratic socialist, depending on the day and depending on my mood. But God bless that there's some people to my left who are saying some shit like this, because it's only through pulling the spectrum back to the left that we will ever get anything even remotely resembling social democracy and improving the lives of regular people across this country.
Committed murder, should be in prison, called for open borders against all deportations, including those of violent criminals. Are those positions that the Democratic Party could win on nationally?
I think what the Democratic Party can win on nationally is a focus on working people.
He's so smooth. He just handled that perfectly. He just swatted it aside and went right to like, look, bitch, all we're talking about is improving the lives of working people. That's all. That's it. That's all we want to do. And so instead of directly answering it, he's just like, yeah, well, you know what else she stands for? Universal health care, a living wage, unions, free college, ending the wars and taking that money and reinvesting in education here. Like, true, that's absolutely true. She may have some ideas that are viewed as fringe or that poll very low, but nothing's going to come of that. But what something will come of is all the economic ideas where we're now seeing wins from Democrats, where they're actually improving people's lives by doing stuff like a rent freeze, like Zohran is doing, for example.
That what I saw from Daria Lisa when I would walk the streets of her district was a focus on what she describes as a politics of life. She would talk about how we have to invest in babies, not bombs. She's now going to represent what is one of the poorest districts in the United States of America. And what people in that district are exhausted by is a politics that has justified the spending of tens of billions of dollars in killing civilians overseas, while working people are struggling just to do the basics.
But so good that he's tying the insane imperialist foreign policy and the backing of genocides to the fact that you're struggling here at home because all of our money is going to that bullshit.
How does abolishing prisons or having open borders fit into that? I mean, do you see how those are ideas that a lot of your Democrats that are warning about what happened here say are toxic? Most of America won't go along with it. They're bad ideas. They're dangerous ideas.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Who's talking about that more? This is like when the Republicans go, you guys won't shut the fuck up about trans people. And then you look at the numbers and it's like, Republicans mentioned trans people 878 times. Democrats mentioned them 3 times. Like, that's what it is. The same shit. Oh, abolish prisons. Abolish prisons. Okay, great. She just said in an academic context 1 or 2 times that was her ideal in the long run. And you guys are latching on to that when she's mentioning Medicare for all the time. She's mentioning raising the minimum wage all the time. She's mentioning raising taxes on the wealthy most of the time. So they hyper-focus on the areas of disagreement and they're doing the Republicans' dirty work for them. This is why we call them Diet MAGA Democrats.
I think what the focus of her race was, what the focus of her candidacy was about the struggle that working people are facing. And I think that we can have disagreements on policy positions. What we have to agree on is what are we fighting for and who are we fighting for. She showed that in her race, and I think that many people will come to appreciate that in her leadership to come.
So we can disagree on something as basic as whether or not there should be prisons?
That's
not your position.
There are prisons,
yes.
And what we're also showing in this city is that safety is not something that's up for debate. It's something that we're actually delivering on. And I'm proud to be the mayor of a city that currently has the lowest recorded number of murders and shootings in recorded history in New York City.
Oh, it's too easy for him. He's like, oh, you want to talk about prisons? Let's talk about prisons. Oh, that's right. I have the lowest crime rate in recorded history, bitch. Oh, what's that? Oh, what's that? Oh, what? I ended up doing really great on this issue that the right pretends to give a shit about? Oh, that's interesting. Funny how that works. Almost like I beat you in every imaginable way.
There was also a take, it's not just Democrats. You probably heard what President Trump had to say about you and about the candidates you supported. And he warned that if socialists win and he calls you communist, but you will start living in squalor. There'll be no food, no housing, no military, no law and order.
Oh, gotta love the Republicans, man. They're just so embarrassingly stupid. I love how people were like, let's call this what it is. It's not socialism, it's communism. And they acted like, oh, yeah, we're gonna get tough on these guys. Meanwhile, cut to, they called Barack Obama a communist, Hillary Clinton a communist, Bill Clinton. They've been screaming communist at us forever. Okay? This is like that meme of like, it's Hitler's face and he's taken off a mask and the mask is Hitler's face also. Like, you guys have always been this ridiculous.
There'll be nothing. And he had a few other choice words. By the way, he also said he still likes you.
It's because he's a cutie patootie. Trump has a type, y'all. Trump is bisexual. He has a type. And that type is a big, strong Arab man, big, strong Muslim man, brown man. I love the brown man. That's what I love. He's a very good-looking guy. He literally said that the other day. He's a good-looking guy, handsome guy.
Republicans are going to make you the poster child for the Democratic Party.
Let them. We don't have to ask ourselves what life looks like if a socialist wins. I won last November, and over the course of these last 6 months, what we've delivered for working people are the very things we were told were impossible. We've delivered free childcare for 2-year-olds for the first time in New York City history. We've delivered tens of millions of dollars back to tenants who were taken advantage of by bad landlords. We've delivered 165,000 potholes being paved. And we've done all of these things while also delivering the lowest recorded crime in our city's history. That's what it looks like to have democratic socialism. And what you're seeing is that New Yorkers experienced this for 6 months and made the decision that they wanted to see more of it on the national stage as well.
They're going to make you the face of the Democratic brand. Let them. Oh, it's so over. Oh, it's so over. What did I always tell you guys? The reason why it's good to go with Democratic Socialists is because then you're baiting Republicans into attacking you on your strengths, right? Because whenever they're forced to talk about actual things like economic issues, kitchen table issues, they are going to be obliterated. When we are saying, you deserve free healthcare. Every other country has universal healthcare except us. Why can't we have that shit? And Republicans go, oh yeah, I'm against universal healthcare. That's bad to give you healthcare. We should make you pay more for your healthcare. Who's going to win that debate? Who's going to win the debate when we say, we should raise the minimum wage. We should raise everybody's wages. We should tax the rich. And they go, oh yeah, I want to lower taxes on the rich and lower your wages also. Who's going to win that debate? So yeah, Zohran is right. If he's the face of the party, 400 electoral college votes, baby. Minimum. 400 electoral college votes minimum. We're going to win by fucking 18 points in the midterms if he becomes the face of the party.
Democratic Socialists get elected president?
I think a Democratic Socialist can get elected anywhere across this country for any position. What I think we need to bring is a focus on working people.
And that's the direction that the party should go in terms of selecting a candidate for 2028?
I think the direction that the party should go in is how best to fight for working people. I think we need to have a platform and a vision that doesn't sound as if it was cooked up by consultants, but instead one that you would say in response to someone who's asking, why can't I afford my rent? Why can't I afford my groceries? Why can't I afford my childcare? We need to make clear who we stand for, how we're going to stand for them, and that we're actually willing to fight for them when the going gets tough.
I will say he is uniquely talented. I don't even think there's other Democratic Socialists who have his level of ability to communicate a vision. Ideology aside, he is just a phenomenal communicator.
Obviously, Israel was a big issue in these races. Not the only issue, but a big issue. Is there room in the Democratic Party for candidates, officials who support Israel, not just support Israel, but support military aid for Israel? This was a huge issue for you.
Well, I think what we've seen is that the time for us as elected officials to pronounce what the party should be is one that should come to an end, and we should let Democratic voters themselves take the lead. We've seen
What a clever way of saying, no, you cannot support sending military aid to a genocidal state. You can't support that and consider yourself a Democrat. What an artful way of saying, no, those people are not welcome in the party. By the way, they represent what, like 5% of voters across this country, people who are just clamoring, yay, send more money and weapons to the guy who's shooting babies in the face. Hooray.
On Tuesday evening, we saw Democrats turn out in districts across this city to make clear that they were tired of tens of billions of dollars being spent in our taxpayer dollars to violate international law, to kill thousands of civilians. And you and I know that right now the way that Palestine is described is as if there is a ceasefire. That's the language that's typically used. Yeah. More than 1,000 Palestinians have been killed in that ceasefire. And what New Yorkers want to see is a politics of conscience, a politics of clarity, a politics of conviction. And to follow international law, to believe in the humanity of all people, it shouldn't be a journey too far. And I think that our party needs to hear what Democrats are telling it.
Democratic Socialists of America now says they no longer favor a two-state solution. Is that the way you see it as well? The idea of two states, Palestinian, Jewish state side by side living in peace?
The way I see it is equal rights for all people. And I think that that's the truth for Israel. It's the truth for any country in the world. And frankly, as we're coming up close to the 250th anniversary of our nation, one of the things that makes me proudest to be an American is the belief that equal rights are at the bedrock of our notion of what it means to be an American.
And the idea of a Jewish state, Israel's a Jewish state, that's in the charter. That's the way it is now. Do you support that?
I've said time and again that I support the state of Israel as a state with equal rights.
He's so good. He's so good. Again, that's his smooth way of saying, I'm against ethno-states. I'm against apartheid. Ethno-states are bad by definition, no matter who the fuck is running the ethno-state, who's the dominant ethnicity in the ethno-state. But it's his artful politician way of saying, are you against equal rights for all? You're against equality? But that's like one of the most bedrock principles we believe in this country. Oh, it's so good. I need every single person left of center to adopt this exact framing on this issue. Just be like, yes, I support the existence of Israel as a state with equal rights. If it's not going to be a state with equal rights, then no, I don't support that.
That any state that
But as a Jewish state is the question.
I think any state that privileges one religion over the other is one that I can't tell you I support, whether it be Israel or Saudi Arabia or anywhere else. And a lot of
just so fucking pitch perfect at this. Jesus Christ.
That comes back to a fundamental belief that we should all be considered equal no matter what our faith is.
How big a problem, you said it's rising, is anti-Semitism in this city?
We've seen anti-Semitism rise in this city. We've seen the fact that...
See, they're trying to bait him into be like, that's not a problem, that's fake, so that they can do a whole freak out over, Zohran is anti-Semitic, see, and he doesn't take the bait.
Jewish New Yorkers comprise a minority of our city's population and yet continue to constitute a majority of the hate crimes that have been purveyed in this city. And that's something that's unacceptable. It's something that we will never come to see as if it is a part of life. It's something that has to be fought and rooted out of every one of the 5 boroughs.
What did you think when Dan Goldman, that coffee shop in Brooklyn, said that they wouldn't serve him because of his support for Israel? You have a problem with, the idea of, of an establishment like that saying they're not going to serve somebody if they support Israel?
I've said that I have political disagreements with Congressmember Goldman. I do believe that that's a response that goes beyond that.
So that's not the right kind of thing?
No, I think it's much better to keep that critique in the way that we've done it.
Okay, so we're just about out of time. I got to ask you, I noticed that you're turning 35 soon, right?
In a few months, yes.
So you now hit one of the...
He's 3 years younger than me, Jesus Christ.
Constitutional requirements to run for president. But there's another one that says you have to be a natural-born citizen. You were not born here.
Yes.
But do you think that's something that should be changed in the Constitution? It would take an amendment, but do you think that we should change that?
No.
No.
I think the Constitution looks good the way it is.
Just the way it is.
Just the way it is. I'm very excited to focus on New York City, but thank you for reminding me of my upcoming
35
mortality.
years old.
Jesus Christ, man. Come on. He should have said yes. He should have said yes, change the Constitution. I would win that shit easy. He should have said that if he was being honest. He hasn't. By the way, they're still trying to attack him over this. New York Post had a headline that's like, Mamdani weighs in on changing the Constitution so he could run for president. They made it seem like he supported it. Meanwhile, he said the exact opposite because they're so fucking dishonest. Zohran Mamdani jumps into New York City pool to kick off summer tradition while violating dress code rules. See, this is what they're fucking reduced to in order to try to go after Zohran. He didn't even wear a bathing suit. He's against dress code rules. Shut the fuck up. Jesus Christ. All right. So Gottheimer says, the DSA wants a war with common sense Democrats. No, bitch, we are the common sense Democrats. But we won't let them hijack the Democratic Party. We're focused on results for working Americans like affordability. The Socialists are about sowing chaos. The other is about solving problems. Ready for this? Mamdani, crazy socialist, focus on sowing chaos, delivers a 2-year rent freeze as promised. Gottheimer, common sense focused on affordability, torpedoed Biden's Build Back Better agenda for lower cost childcare, obsessed with censuring Hassan Piker and Rashida Tlaib. They are so full of shit. All of the right-wing Democrats going after the Democratic Socialists are the problem. They are Diet MAGA. They tank our affordability agenda and everything positive that we try to do. Okay. Van Jones says, reasonable Democrats are going to have to get off their couches, roll up their sleeves, and start organizing real voters on the ground. We can no longer rely on TV ads, digital spend, and endorsements. Just donating from afar and complaining about the DSA won't cut it. Okay, and then you have Adam Johnson says, centrist Democrats who've done nothing but vote scold, belittle, condescend, and refuse to stop backing genocide. I need you to find an army of highly motivated young volunteers who will door knock for capitalism and Israel's right to snuff out children in tents. Brilliant idea, Van. Yet perhaps there's no actual natural constituency among the voters for bullshit Diet MAGA Democratic policies. All right, we also have this. Mike Johnson talking about the DSA. He says, this is their platform. They put it on paper. Abolish the Electoral College or replace the two-party system with a multi-party democracy. Expand the House of Representatives. Implement proportional representation and ranked choice voting in all elections. End all military and economic aid to Israel. Prosecute U.S. and Israeli leaders responsible for the genocide in Gaza. He brings this up as if to be like, look at how crazy these people are. And literally every single one of those things is fucking incredible sounding. They're incredible sounding. Johnson says, if we lose the midterms, these Democrats will turn every committee of Congress into an investigative body, and they'll go after the president's family, the cabinet, his donors, friends. Half of you in this room will be targeted. I run the protection program. We'll take care of you. In other words, yet again, making the case for Democrats winning in the midterms, like, bro, they're going to investigate us for our crimes. Fucking inshallah, bitch. That's what I have to say. And then finally, Senate Republicans accidentally helping out Democrats again, releasing an ad against Abdul featuring Hassan Piker, trying to make him sound bad, but low-key they sound kind of base. Listen.
Meet Abdul El Sayed.
I'm the only person on the stage who said, and I have the words to say that we gotta apologize.
And that's not all. Abdul campaigned with anti-Israel radical Hassan Piker. He called to abolish private health insurance, and he's championing socialist tax hikes with Senator Bernie Sanders.
That's why we need Dr. Abdul El Sayed in the Senate.
Too radical for Michigan, too radical for the U.S. Senate. Reject Abdul El Sayed.
Oh, man, they make us look so good. He's for Medicare for all, and he's against Israel, and he wants to raise taxes on the rich. Isn't that disgusting? Oh, man. This is getting fun, y'all. This is getting fun.
Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
All right, y'all, we got to talk about what's been going on with the climate, because this is just completely and utterly out of control. And I feel like we're hitting a point now where it is so undeniable, even the normie position has become, we might be cooked. Like, it might be over. Looking at just how much the climate has degraded and changed for the worse, this is getting really terrifying. So first, let me show you this. France has reported around 1,000 deaths due to the heat wave that they're experiencing over there. 1,000. Okay. More than 1,300 excess deaths recorded in European heat wave more broadly. Now, this is according to the World Health Organization. I got to be honest, when it's all said and done, I think it's going to be higher than that. We already have reports of like a bunch of hospitals are basically at limit or over capacity because they're dealing with so many people who are experiencing symptoms from the extreme heat. Now, I know many of you in the US might be thinking, well, hold on, what the fuck? How is this something that's like deadly? How are so many people dying as a result of this? Well, you have to understand they have a more mild climate in Europe, or at least they did for a very long time. And so there's not many of them that actually have AC units, right? Like a lot of them just live without AC at all. And because, you know, in the summer, it might be fucking 65 degrees, 68 degrees usually. But when you're looking at days where now you're talking over 90 and the humidity very high, now it becomes one of those things where there's no AC, and a lot of people who are very old or very young, and their bodies aren't functioning as well anymore, they can't shed the heat, and they end up dying, right? So this already is a catastrophe, and then is leading to a bunch of people wanting AC, but then that stresses their electric grid, and there's cascading effects to this stuff. And so this is just now the new normal, right? Like now climate scientists are saying the temperatures we're experiencing now are what the 2050s were supposed to be, but we're experiencing them in the 2020s now. As I keep telling you, the scientists keep screaming bloody murder and saying, it appears like this is worse than the worst case scenario. Every time they open their mouths, it sounds like this is worse than the worst case scenario. Okay, look at this. Today has become the hottest June day in British recorded history with a high of 37.3 degrees Celsius. That's about 99 degrees Fahrenheit. The previous 50-year record was broken Wednesday with a high of 36.1 degrees Celsius, then again yesterday with 36.7 degrees Celsius, and now broken again today. So multiple days in a row where it's the highest temperature ever recorded. All right. All tram service suspended in Leipzig, Germany due to high temperatures. The rails are melting. Well, technically, it's not the rails that are melting. It's the joint sealant in the tracks that's melting. But either way, it's unworkable. It's unusable. So the rails are now melting, or the sealant in the rails is melting, making travel impossible because of the extreme heat. Okay. Well, how about here? Well, in the U.S., we're looking at a massive heat wave. The situation is certainly escalating along the eastern seaboard, the I-95 corridor, for later this week. The NOAA is forecasting peak highs close to the hottest ever measured. All-time highs from New York City to Baltimore, to D.C., to Raleigh, etc., are in the 103 to 107 degree range. In many cases, the forecast is neck and neck. Add to it high humidity, and the feels-like temps will be near 115 in spots. Take this seriously, folks. It will be dangerous. By the way, right where I am happens to be the worst in the entire country with a feels like of 113 degrees forecast for Washington, D.C., near all-time records. Okay, now at the same time, we're experiencing massive heat waves all over the place, right? Heat domes that are setting up and just like locking into place. People dying because of excess heat. The average temperature over time going up, 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 up. There's a reason why scientists stopped referring to it as global warming and started referring to it as climate change, because they know there's some low IQ people out there who don't realize that part and parcel with this is extremes on both ends of the spectrum at any given time. So at the same time, we have 113 degrees here, 99 degrees there, people dying, food growth being interrupted, right? A shortage of water, potential famine lurking, all that horrible stuff. At the exact same time, look at this. Summer snow near Jackson Hole, Wyoming. So at the same time we're dealing with that, look at this. This is happening in Wyoming. What the fuck, bro? This is some end of day shit. And that's not like a little snow. That's like, that shit is sticking. How the fuck is that shit sticking in the summer? You know, usually the road is going to be warm enough from the summer sun where, like, it's going to be above freezing, so when it lands, the snow will melt. The snow's not melting. The snow's not melting. All right, so that's Wyoming. How about this? Drivers navigating flooded streets in Green Bay, Wisconsin, after a storm brought hail and several inches of rain in a short time. Look at this. This looks like it's AI generated. It's not. This is actually real.
Oh my God, this is not even a good idea. This
I love the accent.
This is not a good idea. This is like flash flooding. How are we even going to get home? Oh my God, this is insane.
Look at them. They're flooded.
This is insane.
Now we also have Idaho, Meridian, Idaho. Look at this. Look at this street. It's a street of fucking hail. It's a hail river street. Look at this. Now, there's also flooding going on in Spain right now. There's flooding in Spain. Here's Boise, Idaho. Yet again, it's like a glacial hail river street. Look at this. It's almost fucking July, y'all. It's almost July. So what we're witnessing is exactly what was predicted, which is increased extremes on both ends of the spectrum. And it's happening all at once. As the average goes up, 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 there's increased extremes on both ends of the spectrum. And I haven't even said anything about this super El Nino, which is likely to occur, which will be an absolute catastrophe. Okay, look at this. Here's a chart of global sea surface temperatures from 1982 to 2026, with the years 2023, 24, and 25 omitted. As of June 27th, global temperatures have set a 26 daily record highs in a row. 26 daily record highs in a row. Look at this. Global sea surface temperatures, and the red line is what we're dealing with right now. I don't know, man. It really does look like we've hit the point of no return. Okay, that's what this looks like to me. This is way above and beyond what it should be at the moment. 3.4 sea surface temperatures have now set a record daily high for 28 consecutive days. June 26th saw an anomaly of 1.75 degrees Celsius above the 1991 to 2020 baseline. Okay, here's what that looks like in chart form. Again, red line represents now, represents today. Absolutely, positively terrifying. All right, global temperature variations over the last 2,022 years. Look at this. Here's where we are now. I don't know, man. Seems kind of scary as we have massively increased those carbon dioxide levels because of our oil and gas usage, because of our dirty fossil fuel usage. As the carbon dioxide goes, so goes the temperature of the planet. Insane. Global temperature variations absolutely skyrocketing in recent history. This should really wake people up, but again, not sure it will. And as Matthew Todd says, let's face it, we're cooked. By the way, climate scientists are saying it looks like it's too late. Climate change is undeniable for decades now. It rather looks unsolvable now. Okay. Scientist Zeke Housefather from the IPCC admits meeting goals to limit global warming has become functionally impossible. An excellent and sobering piece flagging the results of a new study published in Nature, especially as, in the real world, there's no chance of limiting the global average temperature rise to 2 degrees Celsius. And that piece is in carbonbrief.org. And we have breaking: climate change cannot be reversed even by zero emissions, says top scientist. It cannot be reversed even by zero emissions. To say we have screwed the pooch is a colossal understatement here. I guess now what we're relying on is scientists to come up with some sort of breakthrough technology to vacuum the carbon out of the atmosphere? Is that what we're now relying on? Now, by the way, as all this is happening, ready? Data center construction spending in the U.S. surpasses spending on airports, ports, mass transit combined, according to Yahoo Finance. As we're already absolutely flying past the point of no return, as we're cooking this planet right in front of our eyes, as now even the normie perspective is something's really fucking off here. This is what we're doing. Actively planning on making the situation worse. I have to say, watching humanity respond to the climate crisis has been one of the most sobering and disturbing things I've ever seen in my life. Because I'm not kidding when I say, in the White House under the Trump regime, there is almost certainly not a single fucking person who's thought about this for even a split second, or cares about it, or wants to try to fix it, or floats a potential solution. I always call these people the baboon regime because I mean it. We are a baboon regime. They have the IQ of a fucking baboon. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. They're not leaders. They're self-dealing. They're self-aggrandizing. They're incredibly corrupt. They're warmongers. They're destroying everything on a daily basis. And the idea that they're actually thinking about trying to fix the planet and get the climate under control is laughable. They're doubling down on fossil fuels at the same fucking time as they're waging a war, which is causing an energy crisis, which is insane. You would think now would be the moment, if ever, to like go all in on green and renewable technology. They're going, no, let's not do any of the green and renewable technology, rely on the fossil fuels, and create a shortage by having the Strait of Hormuz shut because of our stupid Iran war. So, I don't know, man. It's a very doomer moment. It is a very, very doomer moment, in my opinion, and according to many experts here, because this is such a serious problem. We are the frog in the boiling water, and apparently humans just don't have the capacity to organize for a frog in the boiling water type situation. Because at any given moment, you feel like, yeah, everything's okay now-ish, right? But then by the time you actually move to act, it's already way too late. Like the climate scientists are saying, it's already too late. We're already at the point where we're going to die in that boiling water. And, you know, we thought this motherfucker was a jacuzzi just 0.2 seconds ago. We thought we were having fun in that boiling water. We thought we were in a nice bathtub or in a nice heated pool. And now we're realizing, oh shit, we're done. And our leaders are too selfish, too corrupt, too stupid to even try to attempt to deal with this and try to you know, embark on the project to really fix this problem. And I don't know, there's something very dark about that we could be in the middle of a new extinction event. And it's not really treated as such, despite all of now the firsthand evidence. Now when you talk about climate change, it's not like something far off in the future that's going to happen. Like, no, bitch, it's happening right the fuck now. It's happening right now. So, not good, man. We got to lock up the fucking oil executives. Like, we need to, on top of this crusade that the left needs to engage in when we get power back, on top of arresting all of the MAGA regime criminals, arresting Stephen Miller and Donald Trump and Elon Musk and Marco Rubio and all these fucking disgusting assholes, Howard Nutlick. On top of that, we also have to make an example out of these oil executives who knew every single step of the way what they were doing, who knew they were cooking the planet, who knew there were going to be serious consequences and downsides to their actions, and they continued to move forward anyway because they wanted another yacht. So lock them all up, throw away the key, rapidly move towards net zero, and now we got to develop some sort of technology to vacuum the fucking carbon out of the atmosphere. That's how much we're fucked at the moment.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
So it is not looking good for the corporate Democrats and Democratic leadership, y'all. I don't know if you saw this, but Chuck Schumer was apparently booed at a New York City Pride parade. So first, let me show you this. First of all, the optics of this are just sad, bro. The optics here are just so sad. He looks so, like, old and haggard and pale and slouched over and just, like, unhealthy. You got probably these paid staffers holding Senator Schumer LGBTQ community posters. I actually have the video here. Chuck Schumer booed at New York City Pride Parade. So here's one of the videos that you can see from the sidelines. Here we go. I got another video. Hold on. Here we go. A mixed reaction for Chuck at Pride. Senator Schumer made his presence felt at New York City Pride, and the crowd was divided when he spoke to them in New York City down in the Village this afternoon. Okay, here we go.
Happy Pride, everybody. Happy Pride.
Happy Pride, oh God.
I was the first senator to march in this parade, and I'm not the last.
I was the first senator to march in this parade, oh God, and I won't be the last. Okay, hold on again.
I was the first senator to march in this parade, and I'm not the last.
AOC, please save us. AOC, this U.S. Senate seat in New York has your name written all over it. You don't even have to motherfucking campaign. You don't have to fundraise. You don't have to campaign. You don't have to say shit. You could run a campaign against Chuck Schumer as a primary from your motherfucking couch and win by double-digit skis, okay? AOC, please, for the love of Christ, please, let's take this seat from this old, gelatinous, falling apart at the seams, pale, slouched old man, because time has simply passed him by. He's a creature from a previous era. He cannot keep up. He doesn't know how to fight MAGA. He doesn't care to fight MAGA. He's the insider of all insiders. He's deeply bought by special interests. For the love of God, AOC, it would help cement this new era of the Democratic Party really melding together with the Democratic Socialists of America, really making it so it's now a left-wing party and not just a neoliberal party. It would make that guaranteed. It would make that written in stone, and the nail in the coffin of the establishment could be AOC taking Chuck Schumer's seat, y'all. It could be that. So please, I know she's maybe thinking about running for president. I know that she might have other plans. I know that, and it's not easy being in the spotlight all the time, as she is. Clearly, like, she in many ways has been put into the spotlight by the right, making her the face of the Democrats in some respect. And I know that's a pain in the ass. However, there's a U.S. Senate seat with your name written all over it. This man has zero shot, bro. Zero shot. AOC, for the love of God, please save us. Please save us. I don't even need to get into his record. This man was against the Iran agreement done by Barack Obama. Okay? Schumer was against the Iran agreement. Schumer was prodding Trump before he started the illegal war against Iran. Schumer was prodding Trump to do the war. He was saying, Taco Trump is trying to make side deals with Iran. No more side deals, Taco Trump. Basically saying to him, like, why are you trying to get any sort of an agreement or peace? Fucking attack him. What's wrong with you? You got to stand up to the mullahs. In so many ways, this man is hardcore pro-Israel. He's as corporate as a corporate Democrat gets. He's soft on billionaires, right? He raised a lot of money from fucking Wall Street. He's got to go. He's got to go. He simply does not represent the base at all in any way, shape, or form. So I'm telling you, man, AOC, this is your seat. It's got your name written all over it. Please, for the love of God, draft AOC to take this U.S. Senate seat. My Lord, save me from this nonsense.
Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
So I don't know if you guys have been following what's going on in Russia and Ukraine, but man, it is getting wild out there because Ukraine has decided to step up their counterattacks against Russia, and they're landing a lot of massive, massive blows. So look at this. Breaking. Ukraine struck Russia's Titan Barricade factory in Volgograd with cruise missiles. The plant produces mobile missile launchers for Russian missile systems. So here, take a look. We have a short video. Look at that. Oh my days. Oh no, look at that. Now, they keep breaking through Russian defenses. You know, they attacked Moscow, what was that, like a month ago now? And Moscow is like heavily defended and fortified. And they were able to break through and get a lot of targets in Moscow, which sort of marked like a turning point in the war. Another video from the burning refinery in Slavyansk. The energy crisis in Russia is getting worse by the day. Here we go. Look at this one. Wow. Man, that's a big-ass fire, bro. Ukraine struck 2 Russian oil refineries overnight, hitting the Slavyansk refinery in the Krasnodar region, about 300 kilometers from the front line, and the Yaroslav refinery, roughly 700 kilometers from Ukraine's border, and another blow to Russia's energy sector. President Zelensky said, quote, "We continue our operations that weaken Russia's ability to wage this war. Each of our long-range sanctions means fewer resources serving Russia's war machine, and another step toward peace. We will continue to respond to Russian terror." Here we go. So look at this fire. That's gigantic. Look at this. Woo. Wow. Damn. So ABC says, Ukrainian strike sets fire to oil refinery in southern Russia. Ukraine has intensified its drone attacks on Russia, setting fire to a major oil refinery in the south and killing at least 2 people, according to Russian authorities. Ukraine kept up its heavy drone assault on Russia, setting fire to a major oil refinery in the south, as President Vladimir Putin acknowledged for the first time on Sunday that the country was facing a certain deficit of fuel and vowed to strengthen protection of oil facilities and boost fuel output. So in other words, he's like, yeah, we got a problem and we're going to have a fuel shortage here as well. Holy shit. Ukraine has markedly stepped up its long-range attacks on Russian military industries and energy facilities in recent months, aiming to cut Moscow's revenue for its invasion now in its 5th year and make Russians feel the consequences. Quote, "Our long-range sanctions reached 2 oil refineries in Russia." Zelensky said, "Each strike means a reduction in the resources that fuel the Russian war machine and another step toward peace. The campaign has choked Russian fuel supplies, causing widespread shortages and long lines at gas stations across the country and prompting authorities in many regions to introduce fuel rationing. According to Western analysts, it has also slowed Moscow's efforts on the battlefield, heaping pressure on the Kremlin to come to the negotiating table." Speaking to a Russian state TV reporter, Putin described the Ukrainian attacks on oil refineries as an attempt to cause a split in Russian society and force Russia to halt, even if briefly, the advance of our troops along the line of contact and create conditions for launching a negotiation process on terms advantageous to our adversary. "We will not give them the chance," Putin said. Jesus Christ, what a psycho. Adding that strikes on our infrastructure, wherever they are directed, have absolutely no effect on the situation at the front on the line of contact. That's total cope. That is total cope. If you don't have the energy, if you don't have the resources, you don't have the energy and you don't have the resources. If there's civil unrest and fuel rationing because of this stuff, that's a real world problem that has to be dealt with, bro. That's what that is. Now, by the way, ready for this? Because this actually is crazier and this gets more insane. Peter Baker says, article on foreignpolicy.com, "As the tide turns against Putin, beware the drowning man. The average life expectancy of a new Russian recruit from arrival at a training ground to death in a combat zone lies somewhere between 10 days and 3 weeks. Once sent onto the battlefield, they survive an average of 20 to 35 minutes. This dude is straight feeding Russian citizens into the meat grinder. They join the military and they get sent right to that motherfucking meat grinder, bro. We're looking at World War I type shit here. World War I type numbers in this bitch. The death toll is already fucking through the roof. And now it's like we've entered a new phase of the war. So not many people are paying attention to what's going on here. But this is also a devastating, devastating situation and a scary situation, because in the same way that we all worry about Trump feeling like he's trapped, feeling like he's in a corner, he can't open the Strait of Hormuz, Iran basically won the war, it's all over but him fucking acknowledging it. And so what do we fear? We fear he's going to flip out and use a Moab. We fear he's going to flip out and use chemical weapons or biological weapons or use a nuke, right? I genuinely and sincerely fear that from Trump, because he's completely and utterly unhinged, and clearly he wants to use a nuke and he wants to be in the history books. He doesn't care how he gets in the history books. By the same token, I'm also worried about what Putin will do now that he's backed into a corner. Now that Ukraine basically kind of has him in check a little bit here. Destroying their oil infrastructure, getting through the defense systems in Moscow. Like, Putin is sort of in a corner. And what happens when Trump is in a corner or Putin's in a corner? I don't want to motherfucking find out, bro. I need them to hold their big, fat, juicy L's and hold it ASAP. I don't want to deal with the consequences and the fallout of these dying men with giant egos, these authoritarian cretins desperately hanging on to power and desperately trying to save face and potentially unleashing historically evil crimes on the world. I am terrified at what happens from here, bro. I'm genuinely terrified at what happens from here. But this is what happens with this rising tide of authoritarianism and extremism and fascism. That's how you have leaders like Putin wage an illegal and offensive war against Ukraine, a country that didn't attack them. That's how you have Donald Trump wage an illegal and offensive war against Iran, a country that didn't attack us or Israel, okay? Between Netanyahu and Putin and Trump, we are being led by the worst among us. This is fascism. This is oligarchy, but perhaps most importantly, this is kakistocracy. This is the dumbest and worst among us, who are the most shameless, who've risen through the ranks to get power. And now with that power, they're doing all sorts of atrocious crimes. And so I fear what happens now that they're in a corner. I think everybody should fear what happens now that they're in a corner. But these sorts of numbers, these facts, people are not talking about this nearly enough, and people need to keep their eye on this, bro. Because you're talking about sending Russians into the meat grinder, just making sure they die. You're talking about win after win after win for Ukraine now on the battlefield in a very similar way that, you know, Iran is taking win after win after win, and Trump is being humiliated more and more day after day, which is a very dangerous place to be in, especially with somebody who's sundowning, who has dementia, who probably has Alzheimer's, who doesn't know what the fuck he's doing, changes his mind on a daily basis, is completely and utterly lost, should never have had this amount of power in the first place. It is a wild thing to see.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.
Now, I like to think on this show, I have been more than fair to Gavin Newsom, right? He's not my favorite candidate for 2028. There's many downsides there that need to be acknowledged, but I have been more than fair and very nuanced when talking about the record of Gavin Newsom. So, for example, he did many things I like. Like, for example, he banned book bans. At the same time, Republican states were banning books left and right. He banned book bans, which I thought was a brilliant strategy to highlight how we actually give a shit about freedom in California versus, you know, these red states which only pretend to care about freedom and then take away people's freedom. I don't know if you guys remember that debate he did against DeSantis. I believe it was on Fox News, hosted by Hannity, and Gavin Newsom just ran circles around DeSantis. It was a beautiful thing to see. He also signed a bill to make it so that California makes their own insulin, which is going to drastically reduce the price of that, okay? He stopped maternity wards from closing and gave doxing victims the right to sue. He banned medical debt from being on credit reports. He did sectoral bargaining for all the fast food workers, which raised their wages. So there are things there that he deserves credit for. Now, having said that, he's not all he's made out to be, because he's definitely a corporate Democrat. For example, he ran out the clock, which effectively blocked universal health care in California, okay? To me, that's like strike one, you're out. If you're a Democrat and you can't support universal health care, it's like, what are you even doing? You're not really a Democrat. That's like, you're not a Democrat. Like, actual Democrats all support universal health care. He vetoed a bill to get private equity out of health care and crack down on pharmacy benefit managers, the PBMs, which are the reason the drug prices are high, right? So he was like, fuck it, let's not crack down on them and let them keep price gouging. And then, of course, you have, you know, he humiliated himself on his podcast, giggling with sloppy Steve Bannon and playing patty cakes with him, letting Ben Shapiro slap him around, saying to Ben Shapiro, I don't think Israel's doing a genocide. All of that is kind of unacceptable. Well, guess what? Now, Greasy Gavin, he's always a step or two behind. This is what Greasy Gavin does. He's always a step or two behind. He looked around and he realized, oh shit, a whole bunch of DSA candidates just won in New York City? Oh shit, that's crazy. He saw Ro Khanna getting a lot of attention because Elon Musk was saying Ro Khanna should be in prison. And Ro Khanna fired back and said, you should fucking be in prison and we need to raise your fucking taxes because you killed millions of people with your fucking Doge cuts, you asshole. And so Greasy Gavin sees DSA candidates winning, Ro Khanna getting all the attention because he's feuding with the world's first trillionaire, right? And he's like, oh shit, I need to get in front of the cameras. So now let me try to steal his thunder. So what does he do? Look at this. He releases a video. It's time for a national billionaires tax and a new social contract. 10% of Americans own 2/3 of the wealth. Wages have stagnated. The cost of living has skyrocketed. The system is fundamentally broken. The federal tax code, a corporate code, and an inheritance code were written for a different set of Americans. It's time for an economic reset. So here is what he says in his new call for a billionaire's tax. Now, keep that in mind after this, and I'll tell you the rest of the story that he's not telling you. Here we go.
It's time for a national billionaire's tax and a new social contract. Think about this. Just 10% of people in this country own 2/3 of the wealth. A 30-year-old, for the first time in American history, is not doing better than his or her parents. That's a 5-alarm fire. American wages have stood still, and the costs across the spectrum, cost of living, have skyrocketed. The system is fundamentally broken. The federal tax code, the corporate tax code, and the inheritance tax code seem to be written for a different set of Americans. It's time for an economic reset, a true minimum tax on billionaires that, well, ensures the people at the very top pay at least the tax rate their own workers pay. We also should end this tax-free lifestyle loan. This is the gimmick that allows the ultra-wealthy to borrow against their stock portfolios while reporting no taxable income. We also have to rewrite those inheritance rules so that the largest intergenerational wealth transfer in human history, estimated by, well, be $124 trillion that will be changing hands, doesn't lock in a permanent American aristocracy of inherited wealth. Time as well to return to the pre-2017 corporate tax rates, and time to close those offshore loopholes once and for all. And as AI reshapes the country, every American should own a piece of the future it builds through a national public equity fund. Trickle-down economics, it's been a, well, nearly 50-year experiment that has failed. Record corporate profits flowed into stock buybacks and executive compensation. It's time to stop pretending otherwise. We're nearing the 250th anniversary of this country's revolution. The system the American founders built, well, was designed to prevent the concentration of power in a few hands. But we've allowed that concentration to happen anyway, slowly and in plain sight over the course of decades and decades. But we can reverse it. We can reverse it together. It's time to democratize the American economy to save our democracy.
Now, understand something. The policies that he's advocating for here are the policies that the billionaire class said, let's do this instead of a wealth tax. So he's calling for a billionaire tax, but the little secret here is he's actually not calling for a billionaire's tax, because that, when people say that, they typically mean a tax on wealth, not on income. Income is the amount you make per year. A tax on wealth. So look at the net worth and tax that at 5%. And with that money, we could raise a tremendous amount and do so much with it. But he's not calling for that. What he's calling for are the tricks that the billionaire class has said, don't do a wealth tax. Here's some taxes you could do and pretend like you're really standing up to us. And that's what Gavin Newsom is calling for. One of the things he's calling for is just, I don't know if you guys remember this because you guys might be too young, but there was this thing, the Buffett rule, that came out back in the day where Warren Buffett challenged CEOs. Show me what percentage you pay in taxes, and if you pay a higher rate than your secretary does, I'll give you $1 million of my own money. And what ended up happening was nobody was able to collect that $1 million because the effective tax rate that the billionaires paid was less than the effective tax rate of the secretary, what she was making on her income or her salary, right? And what he's saying is we need to do at least that. But here's the thing, the Buffett rule was never meant to be the end-all be-all. That's a bare minimum. Number one, that's about income, not wealth. Number two, it's not even a progressive tax rate, a progressive tax system, because all you're saying is charge them the same percentage. Fuck that. No, you need to charge billionaires way higher of a percentage on their income, but also tax the net worth, tax the wealth. We need a wealth tax. So this is bullshit. This is fucking chicken shit stuff here. He's pretending like he's standing up against the billionaire class. He's not standing up against the billionaire class. As Asanok says here, bro saw what happened Tuesday and it hit him like the ghost visiting Scrooge. Yes, the DSA wins. Ro kind of getting the attention for fighting with Elon Musk. So he's like, I need to go out there and pretend like I'm fighting the billionaires. Well, here's the problem with that. Why was Gavin Newsom in the news recently? For literally standing up in California and saying we need to block the billionaire's tax for California. So at the same time he's blocking a billionaire's tax in California, he turns around and releases a video and is like, we need a national billionaire's tax. How about you greenlight the billionaire tax for the state of California? How about that? Nope, he's against that. So as Mark Ruffalo says, won't regulate AI, talking about Newsom here, and sides with the Epstein billionaire class as opposed to the people in California struggling with the skyrocketing costs of healthcare. The billionaire tax is going to his desk, and he is planning to veto it. Same as he did with AI regulations and the AI safety kill switch. Same with the PFAS, the forever chemical cookware. Anything for the corporate class. We are over this. We want people that are willing to take up the fight. Fighters, not folders. Learn from Mamdani, Gavin. So in HuffPost, they say, Newsom slams billionaire tax proposal after it qualifies for California ballot. Research shows that past tax increases by states have not led to wealthy residents leaving. Now understand, that is the core argument that all of these assholes use. We can't tax billionaires because then they'll all flee the state. It'll be worse off for our economy. Well, it turns out Zohran is taxing the rich, and they're not fleeing. In fact, more rich people are moving in to New York. Okay? They say California Governor Gavin Newsom said he'll vote no on a progressive-backed November proposal to levy a one-time tax on billionaires in the state to counter federal cuts to health care for low-income people. It's literally tied directly to health care for poor people, and Gavin Newsom still said, fuck off. That's insane, bro. Quote, I understand the anxiety driving the wealth tax proposal in California, Newsom posted on his Substack Friday, a day after the proposal officially qualified for the ballot. But I'm voting no because this measure dedicates almost all the revenue it raises to a single category of state spending. It ignores our public schools, as the California Teachers Association has rightly pointed out, by failing to provide sustainable funding that our communities, parents, and children deserve. So you see this bullshit he's doing here? He's going, oh, if we're going to tax them, we shouldn't only use that money for healthcare for poor people. We should also do it for education. That's a lie. That's a dodge. It's a dodge because he's raised money from the corporations and the billionaires, and he's protecting them. And he's lying about why he's against it here. The proposal would tax the net worth of billionaires in California by 5%, allowing them to pay off the tax over 5 years. Newsom argued if the tax takes effect, billionaires will flee the state of California and harm California's bottom line in the long term. Again, no evidence for that. Quote, you may not be able to pick up and move to Texas or Florida to shelter your income from taxation, but I promise you that billionaires can and do, Newsom wrote. Wealth is movable, and it shops for the state with the lowest taxes. Research shows that past state tax increases have not led wealthy residents to leave. Jesus Christ. So he's full of shit. He's completely and utterly full of shit, and people need to be aware of that. And what he's doing now is what I've warned you guys about, right? As we get closer to the 2028 election, all of the Democrats who want to be president will try to sound more like they know you want them to. So they're all going to kiss Zohran's ass and act like he's awesome. They're all going to pretend like, oh, I'm totally anti-Israel. I've been anti-Israel. Let's cut off the money and the weapons. Yeah, totally. They're all going to be, oh yeah, let's tax the rich. Let's tax the rich. It's going to be very important to know their history, to know their record, to be well educated on all this stuff and understand who's faking it and who really means it, right? And that's my biggest fear for 2028 is that you have basically a centrist Democrat who mimics being on the left, and then they end up winning by pretending they're one of us. That's my biggest fear. So I really hope the base is onto who's the real deal and who's not. But suffice to say that Gavin Newsom here is, I'm sorry, this is just embarrassing. It's out of touch. And it's very transparent that he sees Ro Khanna getting all this positive attention because he's fighting with Elon Musk. He tries to steal Ro Khanna's thunder by saying, oh yeah, let's tax billionaires. Also tweeting back and forth with Elon as well. He did that after the Ro Khanna thing. He wants some of that. He wants some of that shine, right? He wants some of that positive coverage. He wants some of that good reaction from the base. But I'm sorry, dude, you can't do the whole I'm here to tax the billionaires routine after you literally are trying to block a billionaire's tax in the state of California. Fuck off with that. All right, y'all. That's the show, man. I love y'all very much. As always, you guys know the deal. Everybody subscribe to the channel. Click that bell icon. You can support the show on Patreon. Sign up for Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. And come hang out with us on Corin's World tonight, y'all. Tonight, come hang out with us. I love you guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace.
Hey, y'all. Do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.